This country was completely different from before the earthquake. When we first got onto the ground, you can see on every single person's face that they had lost all hope completely.
We visited schools in some of the most remote areas of Nepal with marginalized communities, and the level of poverty was clear.
My name is Wendy. I'm founder of Building Education. We are a nonprofit organization that serves to build safe schools, water systems, energy and hydroponic systems to create more sustainable communities. And this model is what we call schools of life. So after staying about 7 days in Kathmandu when we first got to the country, which kind of drove me crazy to be honest because it's so busy, we finally left Tamil and headed to Pokhara. It was about 5 or 6 of us, and we all hopped onto the bus and made our way to Pokhara to our first project site. And that was the beginning part of the journey. We were really excited to find out that Rebecca BK had continued her studies and graduated from university. She is definitely our superstar, our rock star that is an example to all of the kids in JPC.
Namaste to everyone. This is Rebecca BK from Pokhara, Nepal. I'm 26 years old. There are 5 members in my family and I'm the youngest one and first person to go university and from paramedical field. Today I'm working as a pharmacist in hospital pharmacy. Because of my hard working, I made it possible. I'm very thankful to Building Education because of their help and their continuous support.
So the founding of Building Education started because I had wanted to work for a nonprofit organization, and so I then did a trek around the Himalayas, and I met a man named Tej BK, and he told me that he wanted me to help him rebuild his school in Pokhara in Nepal. And he said, look, it only costs $2,000 to rebuild this wall. Please help us rebuild this wall. One wall became rebuilding of the entire school. The second step, I remember I was walking down the slum area one day after visiting the rebuild of the school, and I saw a man laying on the ground with his guts hanging outside of him. And I asked Tej, what's going on here? You know, what did he die from? And Tej didn't seem to know, but he did tell me that that was Ravi's uncle. So that was when I realized that the people who were dying were family members to our students, part of our community. And so I asked Tej what he thought would be the best way to help all the health challenges in this area. And he let me know that there wasn't clean water. People were getting water from the river behind the village, and that was where they were also throwing all of their garbage, where they were peeing. So we paid about $5,000 to bring in a water system into the slum area, and it provided water to over 110 homes. It reduced the death rate significantly. The second thing that we funded that also made an impact was we brought electricity, energy to the area. And this enabled the kids to have Wi-Fi, and we saw a lot of change in the kids. They could sing hip-hop songs to us, like songs by Sia.
Baby, I don't need dollar bills to have fun tonight. I love Jesus.
Which is incredible, right? Especially since the kids couldn't even speak English to me from the very beginning, didn't wear shoes, to then becoming students who had shoes on, who could speak English to me and could tell me about what all their dreams were. So the last portion of our model is a hydroponics project. It requires only 3% of the water that's used in traditional farming, and it actually creates more consistent, high-yield plants. And so the very first hydroponic system had about 300 plants, and so we were growing 300 vegetables every single day, and the kids were fed every single day healthy, leafy greens.
We have the now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 these plants. So hopefully we'll get the more product from this project.
And then they were also able to sell the product into the major tourist city areas, and they generated $100 every single month, which helped them to double the system. Thank you, Banan.
Yeah.
Great job.
Okay.
Great job.
Thank you, lovely.
Now children are interesting to go in the school, so every day they are interesting to study. They are working very hard, so they are not drop out. Thank you, Building Education, for your all your love, prayer, and help. Thank you, Building Education.
In particular, I remember talking to Niraj, and he wanted me to know how grateful he was, how his life since the school has been rebuilt.
जब म 5 कक्षामा थिएँ मैले विन्डीलाई ट्युसनमा भेटेँ अनि विन्डीले मलाई पढाइदिनु भयो नभए म हैन विन्डी नआएको भए चाहिँ म पढ्न पाउँथेन अनि विन्डी आएर मलाई पढाइदिनु भयो त्यही खुसी लाग्यो धन्यवाद भन्न चाहन्छु विन्डीलाई
He and his sisters' lives have really changed. They, with the education and the support that they now have, they feel hope and are very positive about their futures. And it was really touching to hear their stories.
After the completion of the very first village, I realized with the transformation of the very first community that we could then take this model, the Schools of Life model, and scale it to other communities all over the world. And so it was a very natural and gradual process. It wasn't something that I had planned in my head, but there was a huge need. And I was terrified to help at first, to be honest. And I took the very first step. And before I knew it, now we're building our fourth school in our fourth village and our third water system, our second playground, and helping to fund so many more students, and it's changing lives. So for that, I'm very grateful. And with our very fifth school, we're going to be able to support over 1,200 students in Nepal. And so hopefully we're going to see that impact increase as well. I believe that in general, catastrophes can be a strong catalyst to making great change in either your future or the future of the world. My mother had lung cancer, and I was 8 years old when she passed away. And I always say my mother's death taught me two really great things. Number one is that we should always live a life worth living. We should always do the things that makes us happy. We should always go for our biggest dreams that we dream of. The second thing is that we really leave this world with nothing, and the only thing that really stays is the impact that we make on other people's lives. So I knew at a very young age that I wanted to make sure that I made a difference and I made an impact on this world. And I truly believe that my mother's death is what led me to the founding of Building Education. I think that she needed to pass in order for me to learn the lessons that I needed to learn that brought me to then starting this organization.
Our biggest trip, which was such a crazy trip, was really going into Karnali province. Our first drive just to get to Karnali, we took about a 15-hour car ride from Kathmandu to Soket. We partnered with the Karnali Health and Sciences Medical School in Jumla, and many of the doctors went on to help us with our projects and be able to kind of introduce schools and projects for us in the area.
Okay.
But where it got really tough is when we went to go visit Kalika School in Jumla. The roads were extremely bumpy. We had about 7 or 8 people in a car, and parts of the mountains were coming down on us. And there's one part where we actually had to get out. We're stuck. We're trying to get to the other side, and it looks like the road that we're driving on is coming down. So
Mugu in Karnali province is kind of this area that most Nepalis don't ever make it to. So if you're looking for the most rural and the poorest of the poor, unfortunately, that's where you're going to find it. And one of the reasons why is because there's no roads that can lead into these small little villages where people are living. So when we came into this area, we learned that only 1% of females here are literate, can read and write. When I went to the very first stall to buy fruits from someone's tree in their house, she could not do basic math. She could not do addition. She could not add 1 apple to 2 apples to 3 apples and tell me exactly how much money I owed her. And I found this all across Western Nepal. We went and visited a secondary school in Juma called Kalika. It was about 6 classrooms. Many of them were made of, the stones stacked on top of one another and then the mud plaster right on top of it. We could see that the conditions were extremely poor that the kids were studying in. The kids were so adorable. They were very interested in engaging and speaking with us. And it was interesting for us to see what kind of community this was, what kind of situations they suffered from.
77 चैत 20 गते सर यो 3टा बलक थियो सर हावाले उडाएर फाल्यो सर यहाँ बलक पुरानो शैलीमा भवनहरु बने चैत 20 गते 3टा बलक 7-8 वटा कोठा हैन 8 वटा कोठा हावाले भत्कायो हामीसँग तल फिल्ड थियो हामीले व्यवस्थित गरेका थियौं लगभग हाम्रो 1100 बुटा मात्र थियो सर स्याउको थियो लगभग 3200 वर्ग के भन्छ 5000 वर्ग मिटर जति जग्गा थियो समुदायले हस्तान्तरण गरेर समुदाय जिम्मा लगाएको थियो त्यो जग्गा दिँदाखेरि हामीले 3 जना विद्यार्थीलाई स्कलरशिपमा आईसीजी पढाउँथ्यौं सर गत साल यो के भन्छ 77 को वर्षले 78 को वर्षले सर बाढी परेर केही रहेन सर अब सब सकायो न फिल्ड छ न स्याउ छ केही छ
The water source was actually about a 5-minute walk, and the school had approximately 300 students or so. So to imagine 300 students that walk 2 hours just to get to school or around the hill, and there's no water on site. And that was one of the biggest challenges that we felt were part of this school, in addition to the structure.
2 hours from here.
We're going to see if there's any further partnership. But then we went to our most exciting school, Mugu, also named Kalika, ironically. And I think this was probably the most adventurous trip. We made a drive over to Mugu. It was about 5 to 6 hours drive over to Mugu, and then we did a 5 to 6 hour walk. We passed Rawa Lake, which is, a beautiful landmark of Nepal, the largest lake in Nepal, and it was just beautiful to see this area and learn about the culture. And once we arrived within the vicinity, the leaders of the school came and picked us up, and we drove on the bumpiest road, a road that was literally made about a week ago. And we went up the mountain, and it was just the most terrifying ride because all of us thought that, there was a possibility that this car would then fall off the cliff. But we lived, luckily. It's funny because when you think about it, we travel about 60 hours just to get to Mugu and to get to this final school. And we're there for about 2 hours of our time. So we went there, we did a quick tour, and it was such a high need area. Every single one of these classrooms were extremely damaged, and a lot of the walls were coming down already. The other problem that we felt this community had was there wasn't a lot of government representation for the kids. A lot of the people that did have representation that were part of the SMC, they didn't have the education level that was needed. And this is kind of an area where it's really cut off and rural from the rest of so the people essentially they do get left behind in a sense that there's no Wi-Fi in the area, there's no technology that they're using. They are predominantly farmers that work in this area. A lot of kids get married at a very young age, of 12 to 13 years old, don't continue on with their education, especially if there isn't a strong structure or any type of motivation for them to stay in school. And our last trip, actually we made to Chitwan to go visit our second and third school and do impact assessments there. And it looks like everything has been going smoothly and well. We were able to pass out toothbrushes and toothpaste. Thank you so much to our donors who have donated for that. Happy to receive it. The structure is really still in a very good place, and the SMC is more engaged in this community. In addition to that, I think the teachers are very dedicated to making this a great school for the children in this village. The third school has been going well as well. The government is coming in to build another building facility for them, and we're really excited that this has the potential to become a model school, as there's a lot of feeder schools that come around, and we're excited that our partners have done such a great job at really uplifting this community. The happiest moment I had during my trip was actually delivering the backpacks to all the kids in the Force School. And it was an elementary school, so the kids are no older than 11 years old. And I remember we handed every single backpack out to them one by one. I looked every single child in their eyes and I saw the happiness and excitement. These kids have never had backpacks in their entire lives. They've never had a backpack. The areas that they live in were just so rural, right? There's no marketplace. And I realized what something as simple as a backpack meant to them. Their worthiness, right? Their motivation to continue on with their studies.
It's been a theme throughout the trip that despite having so little, the love and gratitude that the children, the students have shown in all the schools that we've been to has been really heartwarming and inspiring to see. These personal connections have really taught me that the problems of the world aren't hopeless. If you can affect just a few lives, one life, it makes it all worthwhile. And that has been a really important lesson for me. I think my life has been changed by this trip.
From the first school, I'm connected with a lot of the students. And it's kind of interesting, you know, because in a sense, it's like they see me as someone that I feel like I'm not. They see me as like their guardian angel or something that has come to change their life. And I always like to remind them that, you know, it's not me that's picking up the pencil and writing it. I want them to know that the true magic is within them, not me, not any foreign entity, not any foreign nonprofit, especially not anybody from the US. But the power and the God is within them. And they also can change their lives and become valuable contributions to society in the same way that I have, that I found purpose to do so.